Okay, dokes. Good morning, everybody. Can we turn on our cameras, especially for the panelists? Let's have our camera turned on as we get started. Let's get it cracking. Please, cameras and audio. We have to get that out of the way so that we'll be sure that everybody is seated or everyone is seated. For those joining us right now, welcome in. Good morning. Over here in Nigeria, it's 10 a.m., so it's morning, Saturday, 9th of November. Wherever you're joining us from, welcome. I would like to get the cameras of I'd like the cameras of the panelists to be turned on. Thank you, Mr. Ebenezer. Great, Jemima. And we're waiting for one more. All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Damilare Akingbade, and I'll be your moderator for today. I thought I would, get a feedback of good mornings from everybody, but like you don't like me. so today we're going to be talking a lot, and I hope that we are able to share our experiences. I'm glad to have everyone join us from wherever you're joining us. Thank you for taking out the time to participate in this webinar for today, and I hope you have a great time. Good morning, Mr. Mustafa Garba. It's good to have you join us as well. And your cameras are turned on. All right, great. So I need to know that your mics are working. So I would like a good morning from everybody, or the panelists as it is. So let's get it. We need to be sure your cameras and your mics rather are.
Hi, so, good morning.
Thank you, clearly. Okay, great. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me, Dami? Good morning.
Good morning. All right, great. Yeah, so we're cool. I've gotten what I wanted. I just needed to be sure that our mics are working. All right, very quickly, let's get straight into it. But before we go into introductions and all of the other technicalities that we're going to enjoy right here, I have a confession. Before I bobbed, or even before I heard about the idea of DevOps, and my scope was limited. I didn't even understand what DevOps mean, I just thought it was one fancy word for another word like cybersecurity or computer networking. I had a lot of misconceptions about it. And quite frankly, that's one of the misconceptions a lot of people have when it comes to ideas around, tech world and linguas. For example, like I said, I just had no idea what DevOps means. Somebody asked me, guy was like, do you know anything about DevOps? And in my brain, I thought it was another programming language that I needed to learn. Even though I had done my research and found out that DevOps is literally just development and operations mixed together, and it's a full cycle I did not know. And so today I want us to know that there are so many people that will join in on this webinar who were like me a couple of years ago, who didn't know the idea of it. So just to put this as a guideline, that whatever we are saying, whatever we are going to speak, whatever we're going to share today, it should be down to the point of an understanding by anybody, really. Drill your points down, make it as clear, concise. It shouldn't be vague, because the idea of the tech world feels like it is a bit vague for random people to even have a say on anything. But I trust we have professionals in-house today that are able to give us, insights that anybody can take home any idea concerning the topic of today, especially. And so if you are joining us now, the topic is harnessing DevOps for secure clouds environment, cybersecurity and practices. So yes, you might not be actively playing a role in the niche of tech, but this promises to be an intellectual one, and you're going to have a take home. So I shared that story of my deficiency of the knowledge of DevOps and maybe even cybersecurity because as a guy who was in the tech world at that time, didn't have the knowledge. So how much more somebody who is not even involved? I don't know if you guys get what I mean. How much more somebody who is not even involved in the entire tech world and or even cannot be comfortable with this whole lingua. So before I get cracking, I'll just do a simple introduction on everybody. But do we understand the concept I was trying to explain here, that whatever we are going to say should be drilled down. Questions will be thrown at you, questions will be given to you, and let's drill it down to the point where people can understand and avoid any too much technicalities as possible. Are we on the same page? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So it's good. I feel like everybody has lights in their house as in NEPA. It's like the power grid did not reach you outside. That's quite good. And thankfully
maybe I'm my own NEPA. You don't know.
I
might be my own NEPA, yeah.
Help your voice. Let me give you my meter number. So you just okay, thank you so much. All right, so let me do a quick introduction. Welcome everybody once again as we have this started. I'm your host, I should say, or the moderator for today, Damilare Akinbade, and I'll be introducing the first panelist for today. And for every introduction, if you can, you're just going to unmute and just, after I've introduced you, you're going to say a happy good morning or just give us a salutation, something just to let us know that you're happy to be here and we keep going that way. So just something like an intro. So my first panelist for today is Jemima Jeremiah. I remember calling her the other day to ask if I should put Honorable Minister close to her name, but she said no, she would like to be referenced or called Jemima Jeremiah. Jeremiah is a cybersecurity enthusiast with hands-on experience on product security and UI/UX design. That's quite a combo, if you ask me. And she's been enhancing user engagement while safeguarding transaction security, basically. She's very passionate, or she's a passionate advocate for cybersecurity awareness, and she has been frequently sharing insights on protecting digital footprints and practicing daily cybersecurity. So Jemima's work in community outreach has made her a strong voice for secure online habits and fostering safer digital environments. Please help me welcome Jemima Jeremiah. Good morning. Good to have you. Let's hear your voice now. You will still talk.
Good morning. It's amazing to be here. Thank you very much, Dami. Can I call you Dami?
No, it's fine.
Let's call you Dami. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. It's honestly an honor to be here. Thank you, everybody. And I hope to have a lovely time too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning. Welcome, and please have a lovely time. Don't hold back, please. And my next panelist is, I want to call him Honorable Minister, Dr. PhD holder, great man. I called him to ask him what titles would he like? And he said, even if he has the entire degree in this world, he would rather be called Mr. Mustafa Garba. Mr. Mustafa Garba is a seasoned engineering professional with broad skill sets in IT support, data analytics, and project management. Such an amazing portfolio, eh? Bringing extensive experience in cloud and data operation, he has a proven ability to design and implement scalable data solutions. He also knows how to optimize cloud infrastructure and collaborate effectively with both technical and non-technical stakeholders. Please, Mr. Mustafa Garba, if you hear or if you heard my powerful introduction, you need to give me a powerful good morning as well.
Sounds more like a political campaign.
Have you seen the picture you used? You look like a political.
Well, maybe, who knows? Good morning, everyone. A pleasure to be here, and I hope
morning,
we
sir.
can benefit from the webinar.
Good morning. Thank you so much, sir. Great to have you. All right. My final panelist. I wish I had that Undertaker sound. You just play boom. That is intro. Anyway, right. So we have Mr. Ebenezer Olorunwo, who is a co-founder and DevOps engineer at Hyperdrive Technology Limited, an Abuja-based edtech startup focused on delivering innovative solutions to tertiary education. He also serves as the CTO of Siminioni System Limited, an IT consulting firm dedicated to empowering clients to enhance their capabilities and achieve their business objectives. He plays, basically, in summary, he plays a crucial role in that company because he helps them make informed decisions that enhances their businesses, basically. So he's a graduate of Udacity's DevOps Engineer Nano Degree Program. So Ebenezer brings over 17 whooping years of experience combining deep technical expertise with a strategic approach to leadership and innovation. Mr. Ebenezer, I know that this portfolio did not capture everything I want to say, but I want you to say a happy good morning to us.
Good morning, Dami. Good morning. Are you sure you're in the right place? Because you should be maybe somewhere advertising people, maybe with the National Assembly, giving speeches and leading the way for the Senate President, just.
I could pass for that too. If they can pay me to do it, I will introduce Wiki anytime, any day.
I'm happy to be here, Dami. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much for joining in. All right, welcome everybody once again. I mean, you all are important for everyone that is also participating in the entire webinar. I mean, the panelists they are here to give us their experience and to be a blessing to us, really. But for every person who has joined in on this webinar, you are also important. We cannot mention your name specifically, but welcome to you too. And we know you are going to have a great time. And so it's great to have you all here. So very quickly, I'll just do a brief overview of what the entire webinar is going to be all about. And to explore an intersection of DevOps and cybersecurity. So if you are participating and you don't know the idea, or you don't even have an idea of the concept of DevOps and cybersecurity, these words look a bit more technical to you. Don't worry, we have experts in the house that will break it down into pieces and give us something that you can hold on to, basically. So we're going to be discussing strategies for balancing innovation with security in cloud environments. All these things concerns us. I'm sure the panelists have a way to make sure that it will concern you, regardless of whatever sphere of influence you are currently in. So we are going to be addressing emerging threats, considering ethical implications of DevOps practices, and also sharing practical tips and best practices for organizations who need to adopt DevOps. And this is what we're here for today. All right, so very quickly, Mr. Ebenezer, please, in simple terms, for those who don't know, and for those who cannot even relate to the entire webinar, how can you tell us what DevOps is, and how does it relate to cybersecurity in the entire conversation?
All right. Thank you, Dami. By the way, this is not, I don't see today as an expert talking to others, right? I think even DevOps and cybersecurity itself gives us the opportunity to always learn and keep learning. So I view today as an opportunity to pour out what I know in simple terms, like you have said, but also to learn from the other panelists and everybody in the group, right? So that's my specialty for today. Now, back to what we're talking about, DevOps it's by the time you notice that it's an amalgamation of two things, dev and ops. Yeah. And to understand DevOps, you need to know what those two means. So the dev part of it is just the practice of software engineering, software development, like your developer work, right? That's dev part of it. Now, the ops is the IT operations. Now, how do I put it now? When developers code, right, there is a whole process behind that in terms of coding individually, performing unit testing, integration, pushing it to the joint repo, collaborative repo where all the works come in, and there is a software lead who is in charge of integrating all of those aspects and ensuring that it all works together, right? Now, when all of these are said and done, they have a working app, right? Now, there's a need to migrate it to the server, all right? So there's a team responsible for that part of the process, which is the ops now. Theirs is to provision the server, provision the server, know the capacity of that server. Will it serve? Be responsible for patching, be responsible for backup, be responsible for every other thing, all like that. So now DevOps bring those two together and bring in the aspect of automation, right? Where the two teams collaborate. Okay, so that's DevOps. Now, to say apart from ensuring that the two work together, I would say that there are 4 things actually that DevOps enables us to do as a team. Number 1 is that you develop faster. So because there is automation, okay, from the developer's system to integration, to testing, to unit testing, to the server, to provisioning, all of these can be automated, right? So it's easy for guys working from different locations to push their code, and in a matter of minutes, it's live. It's already available to the customer, all right? I'm talking about even if you want to set up and provision the servers and every other thing, everything can be automated and be done in such a way that in minutes, it's available to the server, to the end user. Okay, so that's one of the things, faster time to market. I said 4 things, right? The second thing I would like to say is improved collaboration. If you played around the IT sector, you will hear developers say something like this: "Oh, it's working on my system," right? Somebody pushed something to the server and like, this thing is not working, but like it's working on my system. And then there is this aspect where developers do something and once they are done, they just pack their laptops, their bags. I'm done with my job. The rest is yours, and they are off, right? And so if the ops people now have challenges, they have to wait to call in a developer, maybe middle of the night, or wait the following day. All right. So you find that what that does is that the teams are working in silo, right? In silos. And so what DevOps does is say, we are wanting. The job is not done, even if you are done coding, even if you are done provisioning the server, patching the updates. The job is not done until the software gets to the user or until we test fully and it's okay. So everybody we are wanting. So that second thing I want to talk about that it does is improved collaboration. So we all see ourselves as wanting dev and ops, and we all are working together to produce one result, one product, all right? So the third thing is automation. I already mentioned it, right? That instead of manually provisioning the server, manually physically working to the servers, right? And all of those things, you could automate the testing, you could automate the integration, you could automate the security scanning, and even the code structure. You could automate all of these things. So there is no, I even say that there is no DevOps if there are no automations. It's a key concept to DevOps, automation, right? And the last thing, what you get when you automate and when you work together and you're agile, is that you have a room to improve continuously. So what that means is if someone pushes a new feature, you can get a feedback almost immediately that this thing has broken. All right? And then you have everybody who is involved in that process gets an alert, either by email or whatever system you have set, and everybody can say, oh, this thing has broken, let's fix it. And everybody kind of contributes to that, right? So it's an opportunity for continuous improvement. So it's not like, oh, when I was in my former place of work, I worked like this and it served me. Now, it's not like, as long as it works, you have to make sure it works. So DevOps, the last point is DevOps give us an opportunity, right? To continuously improve on our processes, continuously improve on our codes. Now, how does that bring us? I hope I have done some justice to Dev and Ops and the values it brings to the table for us. So how does that relate to cybersecurity? There is a practice in DevOps called DevSecOps, right? It's like Dev, Security, and Operations. So I don't know, we like amalgamating things actually, because we've suffered, I think that we have suffered a lot from teams working in silos, and that's the truth, right? So DevSecOps, what does it entail? It's just the practice of integrating security from the start. I want us to understand from the start. Now, the best way I can explain that is the subtle difference between quality control and quality assurance. While quality control says only products that meet this metric goes out of our factory or of our system or of our production process, right? So that is good. That is good, right, for quality control. But what happens to the others that does not meet the metrics at that end point? It means that it has to be reworked, right? That means more man hours, more rework. That's a lot of waste, okay? But quality assurance in the other way says, you know what? We're going to look into the process, our production process, and optimize each phase in such a way that by the time we get to the end, majority of our output we automatically meet the metric for quality control. So we're talking about code structure. Oh, if we're doing this is how you should do it. This is how you should define. This is how you should define your API. This is how we want to code. This is how we should integrate. This is how we should provision the servers. This is how we should test this. This is how we should monitor this and that. When you when you bring it into that, every phase kind of passes the metric. The chances are that by the time we get to the end, everything is perfect. Now, nothing is perfect in nature, and that's true. Okay, so that's what DevSecOps brings to us. It helps us to look into every phase, integrate security practices. You don't expose sensitive data. We don't add code when you can use other things. No, those I don't want to go into jargons, but that's the idea. Ensuring that the right things in terms of security, data protection, privacy, the right things are done so that at the end of the day, we have a robust system that is able to serve the purpose we want. Finally, if the aspect of quality control and quality assurance does not cut it, let's look at it from this angle. What about having a structure, a building? You have a two-story building. And then at some point you now say, okay, let's add a separate wing. Okay, let's break down this aspect and have a separate wing and just join it to the building. And then after that, they said, can we collapse the roof? I think it would be nice to have a rooftop restaurant. It would be nice, we're in the city and all of those stuff, right? Now, these things are good, right? But that structure, right? You can't compare that, even the look and feel, the economic and the integrity of that structure. You can't compare it with a building that was built for that purpose from the start. So when you're building the foundation, you already said this is going to be a 4-story building. It's going to have a rooftop restaurant. It's going to have this. So you have built the strength of the pillars of the foundations to support all of that compared to an afterthought. So anything can happen to that building, right? And so that's what DevSecOps helps us to do. Instead of afterthought, when our application is ready, then we're now saying, how can we protect this against this vulnerability, against this attack, versus you already built it, have that in mind when you were laying the foundation blocks, right? So yes, you agree with me that the second aspect is much better. You have a better, robust system, right, compared to an afterthought. So that's the importance of DevSecOps now, our cybersecurity in DevOps. So I will stop at this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So, I mean, I hope we were able to grab the 4 points or the 4 things that DevOps helps with. It helps us develop faster, improve collaboration and automation, and also improves continuity. It helps us improve continuously rather, which I think those are 4 valid points. And now this new term I've never heard of DevSecOps, and finally I'm hearing it for the first time because I didn't know that sec could go into the acronym already, and which makes sense. Thank you so much, sir. But I need to be sure of something. For example, how does I know you've mentioned that the security aspect already comes into DevOps. So, but then how does it help, or should I say, how does DevOps practices, which you've mentioned, those 4 things, protect us or protect our personal information online? Because if we are going to bring cybersecurity into the whole thing, how does that work? Can you wave off the foggy area?
Okay. Very important question, right? I already mentioned the importance of the cybersecurity part into DevOps, right? There are things you can employ. For example, if you're a developer, there are tools like Trivy or Aqua Security that you could automate into your process. These things, when you talk about security over the internet, right? You're talking about scanning for vulnerability. are there loopholes for bots to explore, right? Or for hackers to explore. And this is the reason why you need to do security updates most of the time, because this thing change, bots get smarter, hackers get smarter, and you also need to get smarter and be a couple of steps ahead, right? And so this aspect, as the trend changes, these are what we incorporate into every section of our development process. Not just development and operations. Now, I've explained both parts, the provisioning, the server aspect of the patching, the OS security, firewall and co, right? So now we have tools that you can run as you run your test, as you run your unit test, as you run your integration test, right? As you provision your server, that will one of these is stress testing your application, right? To be sure that there are no loopholes, right? This thing so shows that, oh, this person that is an hard-coded information, important information, it alerts everyone, and we're able to fix that immediately. If are there an open port on the server that no one is using, just open, that is a potential opportunity for a breach to occur on your servers, right? And so when you are developing an app, or you are on top of something of an app, you are responsible not just for what your app does, but you're also responsible for the incidences that might occur, negative incidences now, that might occur through using your app, right? Of course, we might not talk about, I'm sure we're going to talk about the things that individuals are responsible for, but as a company and as the app developer, there's a lot of things that we can do to not expose our people or our clients' data, to fraudulent people, to mischievous people, or mischievous acts, right? Hackers out there. So this is basically what DevSecOps helps us to do. It brings everything in terms of what cybersecurity offers. It brings it to the table. Everything cybersecurity offers, right? You bring it to the table and you implement it into your DevOps processes. And that's, if you can do that. Now, no system is perfect. Let me put it this way, right? No system is perfect. There will always be a breach. There will always be, but how are we able to react and solve that immediately? Or do we have detection systems? These are the things that it brings to us to allow us to detect those loopholes even before it happens, even before it's out there, so that we can fix ahead of time. And I would say that how you will know that the app you're using is doing that is anytime you have an app that is always updating.
Yeah.
Just know that behind that, I think a rule of thumb to a layman, just know that there is DevOps and DevSecOps at the end, because they're always scanning and always fixing stuff. For example, a developer, then in layman terms, a developer can forget. I mean, it's difficult to do, but a password fit can be a plain text fit. Let's put it that way, right? Password fit is not supposed to be plain text, right? But let's assume this extreme case where a password fit is plain text. Now, these processes we've talked about will flag it during the automation process, during the testing process, and we stop it from being pushed out to production. So that's an example. I'll take other questions, see if that isn't so clear.
No problem. Thank you so much, sir. I have a quick follow-up question for Jemima. Quickly, you heard everything Mr. Ebenezer said concerning, and you made a valid point. You said something about how no system is perfect. No system is perfect. I'm particularly concerned as a cybersecurity enthusiast that you are. how do you identify the imperfection in systems that are out there really? I know that the DevOps or the DevSecOps is supposed to capture the vulnerabilities, but how do you guys identify these things? Man, I hope you got my question.
Sorry, can you come again? I didn't get you clearly.
Oh, okay, so I was talking to you. I said that I have a follow-up question for you. I mean, it's coming from what Mr. Ebenezer said, and I needed you to just chip in on that. He said that no system is perfect, right? That's what he said. And no system is perfect. Every system is probably going a development. It's always continuously improving. But I'm saying, how do you guys, as a cybersecurity enthusiast, how do you guys identify these vulnerable systems really that are already on production states?
That's actually a really wonderful question. So I feel like let me sit up. I feel like identifying imperfect systems, right?
Yeah.
Actually, in cybersecurity involves a lot of mix of vulnerability assessment, regular monitoring, and sorry, can you hear me clearly? Because I keep hearing something. Am I
Yeah,
clear?
your network was quite breaking at my end. I'm not sure, maybe it's my network. But maybe you should go
Okay,
again. Let's
I should go again. Okay. So I feel like identifying imperfect systems in cybersecurity involves a lot of it's an entire mix. So we could say it involves vulnerability assessment, regular monitoring, and recognizing potential human and technological flaws. I don't know if you want me to explain on that, but yeah, I will actually explain on that. So now, when you conduct regular vulnerability assessments, it simply means you're carrying out your penetration testing or you're using scanning tools or manual code reviews. To break that down, penetration testing means to simulate attacks on your system. That's to identify exploitable vulnerabilities. So you're trying as much as possible that, oh, if a certain vulnerability is to happen on this system, what would I do to combat that? Also, you're using tools like let's say Nessus, that's Nessus, that is used to identify software weakness, misconfiguration, and outdated system. And then especially for like in-house software, softwares, manual reviews can reveal flaws that automated tools can use. Yes. Another way you can also identify weak systems is to analyze your incident history and security metrics. That's look at the past breaches that our computer has probably gone through or near misses to find yeah. I could go on and on because I love, love, love. But yes, to speak on the human factors, we
Yeah.
could try phishing simulations actually, because I feel like this is something that is really not spoken about. Human factors is very
Yeah.
important because I feel like that's actually the most important thing actually in cybersecurity, because everybody talks about, oh, how they were hacked and oh, somebody gained access to my phone. But half of the time, it's actually you that gives these people access and you really don't know. So human factors is a very, very, very important thing that you have to access or check when you're doing things like this. So behavioral analysis under human factors, that's to study and access your patterns and your flag anomalies, such as employees that access data outside of the usual scope. And also phishing simulation. This is really, really important. So last month was Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and I was happy to be opportuned to participate in this phishing simulation, phishing awareness basically for an organization where we had to train the staffs of the organization on phishing because
For
phishing
those,
as
sorry,
is
my apologies. I just need to. For those who don't know what phishing is, can you explain? Because we never can
okay.
tell who is currently in the
Mm.
participating. So phishing sounds like
Okay,
actually
so
good.
phishing is not actual fishing. You're not going fishing, but I'd like to think of fishing like, okay, so you know how you get scam calls and people call you and they're like, oh, hi, I'm from your bank or I'm your bank attendant and I need your information. So fishing is the same thing, but it's just that it happens in your inbox. So it's like scam calls make you share your personal information by pretending to be someone they're not. So like a bank service or what else? I think banks are the mostly used phishing threats. So that is used basically. And then the tricky part is that now they've gotten so good because it's like these seminars that we have that we teach people about phishing. They attend these seminars because they want to know what they are doing wrong to improve on it. So they've gotten so good at it, and it's so hard to like spot phishing links at this point. But yeah, that's basically what phishing is. So phishing simulation is something I think everybody should generally just go and take a random phishing simulation course because we need to really understand what these phishing links do. They make you expose your personal information. Phishing links are very so I like to think of it as a facade. Yeah, I would say that because it's more like you would think that this is a Google link, but it's not. It's probably G with two zeros instead of G with double O's. And most times we're too much in a hurry to actually check these links. So yes, that's actually something that is really, really important.
Okay, so I, I know I had a question for you, which was what are some of the biggest cybersecurity threats facing individuals today? But then I like that you already mentioned phishing rather. And again, for those who don't know, phishing is not the one with the FISH, it's the
It's
PH, right?
spelled with a P
Yes, yes, PH,
Ishising.
right. So I know that when we hear cybersecurity, you almost like, oh, hacker trying to hack my computer. I remove the network and the guy has stopped hacking my computer. Meanwhile,
Mm.
phishing or social engineering is also one of the major ways that these guys, try to get into our system or penetrate through our system. For example, like you said, the scam calls and also misleading links. But for emails now, how can I, spot a fraudulent email really?
That's
How can
actually a very, very, very good question. So usually when I get mails and open the email, I don't know. These checks don't take so much time. You could just do them like in a blink of an eye. But the first important thing to do is to check your sender's email address. Most times, these people, they might get
okay?
probably, oh, you're like getting an email from the, I don't know, head of Google. I don't know why Google is very reoccurrent in my speech, but yes, head of Google. And then it's more like Ben at, I don't know the domain name for Google, but Ben at, let's say, google.com. And their own could be Ben at google.c with a 0M. And you just look at it and you're like, okay, yeah, I got an email from the head of Google. Yeah, I'm all that. I think I'm all that. So basically, fraudsters often create email addresses that look almost like the real thing, but with one tiny change, one very, very tiny change. It could be a letter swapped out or a number or an extra character included. Another thing is looking for urgent or alarming languages. Okay, this is very, very common with scammers. So I don't know, I shop a lot on Instagram. So this is technically what I use to identify scammers a lot. They always want you to do things with so much urgency. They want it now. Like if you're not doing it now, then don't do it ever. That's one thing they always do. So fraudulent emails love to make you panic. They would say, oh, your account has been compromised. Immediate action is required now. Like, if I do it in 5 minutes, I'm not going to die. So I'm going to wait that extra 5 minutes and do it then. That's the thing. So there's always a sense of urgency in the emails. There's always, oh, click on this link now, or just something to just make you get afraid that, oh, if I don't do this now, I'm probably going to get hacked. The next thing is spelling or grammatical mistakes. Well, because I like to see it as these cyber criminals or these attackers, they well, I would say they're not really, really good in their grammatical constructs. So they tend to make tiny mistakes. I don't know. They would add maybe like a weird phrase or weird grammar or spelling errors. Spelling errors are actually very consistent. Because I mean, if you want to steal from me, the best you could do is actually speak proper English. That would be really nice. So yeah, they always don't pay attention to these details. And of course, I would say that this is not exactly a good way to detect phishing mails, but generic greetings is another thing. Um, of recent, because I kind of work in like the content space. So one thing I would, for people I've worked with, I would always say, okay, if you're addressing people, try as much as possible to either you have a tagline, you don't use the usual customers or employees, something just to show some form of cordial relationship with you guys. So these generic greetings, these scammers don't get it because they would literally be using dear customer or dear user or like dear, like we're in some sort of relationship or something. But yeah, real companies would actually go the extra mile to show some form of cordial relationship. And the last thing I would always say is trust your guts, because when you get an email, you have to first ask yourself, was I expecting an email like this? Do I have affiliations with this company? Or why is the head of Google sending me an email? What did I do that was so outstanding that the head of Google is sending me an email? So yeah, that's another thing. So that's basically it. The last one, I don't know if this is particular to all computers, but on my laptop, anytime I hover over a link, I get to see some sort of preview of what is going on in that link. Yes. So that's something I actually use before I click on any link. I do that. And you could also, if you want to be in the techie aspect, you can use Virus Total. Yes, that's actually a very, very good website that helps you identify if your links have malicious activities attached to it. All you have to do is just copy your link, go to Virus Total, paste it on there, and then it's give you the review if the link is malicious or not. So yes, that helps you actually identify what links are good and what links are not.
Great. Thank you so much, Maima. Mr. Mustafa, please, have you ever been a victim of any of the phishing activities or any of the social engineering thing that goes on? And what was your reaction? What did you do afterwards? If you have, of course, been a victim of it.
Let's say I know people who have fallen victim. I've been lucky enough that anything that I have oppositional personality. So anytime I'm told, oh, you have to do this within 10 minutes or else, I get annoyed and like, or else what? 10 minutes, let's see what happens. Literally. So I have, or literally, my mom fell victim to a scam recently, a few days ago, one of these crypto platforms.
Yeesh.
Using deep fake generated video
No, they went that
of
far.
Aliko, Elon Musk, Tony Elumelu, and the like on the platform. And she didn't get to tell me about it until after she dropped 400,000 in it. And then she now sent it to me. Is this legitimate? Like, why would Tony Elumelu be struggling for $11,000? Why would Aliko Dangote be struggling for $7,000? Like, it's always the chain of logic that doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
But they don't allow you to think. That's why, like Jemima said, the sense of urgency that they always try to engender in people. Because I'm sure she knows the acronym PEBCAK. Yes. they do like to say the problem exists between chair and keyboard. The biggest vulnerability is the human factor. But so whenever you want to try and help people with their security posture, the first thing is always to focus on the human. Teaching them awareness and stuff like that.
I think Dami is frozen.
Yeah, I think
He
he's
looks
frozen.
entirely frozen. And yeah, he got kicked out. Let's give him a few minutes to return.
I'm so sorry, guys. My network completely knocked me out. My apologies. Um, can you all hear me? So sorry about that for the break there. Can you hear me, Mr. Mustafa and
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Dami.
Art? Yeah, my apologies. My network completely knocked me out. No. All right. I know I got a bit of your story, the experience you were trying to share or you shared about your mom. And I'm glad that I threw that question at you because it was quite timely, especially the fact that Jemima had already spoken about phishing and social engineering and all that. And
Yeah.
this is quite important because personal experiences are more real. Because I did not know that they could even go this far to have a deep fake video that can completely even make, and this is even more risky because you're going to see deepfake is more real. It's more real. It's almost like happening live there. And thank you so much for sharing that, that experience. But still back to you, Mr. Garba, and I want you to be able to, help us distill this knowledge in quite a reasonable manner. Let me pull up. Can you still hear me? I'm not sure if I'm being heard.
Yeah,
Can you
we
hear me,
can
sir?
still hear you.
All right, okay. Sorry, I just need to be sure my network is not messing up. So let's shift the focus a bit to the cloud security. And this is particularly to Mr. Garba's, field and that. So with cloud services rapidly growing, because now people tend to trust more in the cloud. And it's almost like our data, feels a lot more safer there, right? So where do you see cloud security heading in the next 5 years, right? Where do we see cloud security heading in the next 5 years? And how should organizations prepare for these threats that are coming from, the cyber threats, right? How do you see organization prepare for these things? Because people are evolving as the artificial intelligence is also coming in, people are evolving. So we know that the cloud is secured, but in the next 5 years, where do you see it heading to? Do you see it, becoming a lot more deeper? I don't know if you understand the question. Let me know if you didn't get it. But that's the question. Where do you see, cloud security heading to in the next 5 years?
Yes. So thinking about security on the cloud, the trend is more right now towards being more proactive in our security posture. What do I mean by that? There's a tendency right now to just kind of try and build our castles around our platforms, our applications, our services, and wait for attackers. Whereas the more sensible thing to do is to try and think like a thief. Constantly assess your cloud environment for vulnerabilities.
Okay.
It's like when Jemima was mentioning vulnerability assessments, penetration testing. You have to, on a regular basis, conduct tests of your system and assess where is vulnerable, where isn't, what actions you can take to cover those vulnerabilities. They do say, set a thief to catch a thief. So you kind of have to put yourself in the shoes of someone who is trying to attack your system, which pivots to investing in personnel. There really is no way around it. You have to invest in security personnel. There's a project I'm currently involved in that affects everybody on this call, but I can't say too much about it. And the lack of investment in actual security personnel rather than just writing and hoping has meant that a lot of people's data has actually become vulnerable. Like, sorry to break it to you, but your data is actually out on the dark web right now. Because a lot of the security personnel aren't actually investing in upgrading their knowledge to account for the new cloud native reality that exists for large scale systems at present. Now, investing in personnel isn't just about your cybersecurity personnel, it's the culture at your organization in its entirety. It has to be made clear to people that, these usual phishing vectors, emails from the like an email purporting to be from the org at the top, asking you to sign off on something, and the next thing you know, money has left company accounts because of you. You know, security awareness, phishing awareness, password policies, two-factor, multi-factor authentication, data protection. These are all things that people will not usually be aware of unless they are trained on them. And it falls upon organizations to invest in training people in these things, especially their employees, in order to minimize vulnerability. One thing a friend of mine likes to say is, anything man can make, man can break. So it's just left to you to make it too expensive for the attacker to try and break down your door. Finally, what I would say is automation. Automation. The less human factor in your build, deploy, maintain cycle, the less possibility of error. Of course, a human being will for now, is still a human being that will write production code. But the process of testing, integration, deployment, maintenance should, as much as possible, be automated. It streamlines your operations and security, as well as reducing the strain on the human beings who actually do have to take charge of these things. And then, in addition, collaboration. It's always good to keep your eye out on, what is currently happening, what people are doing to secure their systems, how that would work for your own organization systems. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. But as a follow-up question, that or all of us should know that cloud security can be very expensive. Is that right? Investing in the security can be cost intensive. So for companies that are struggling with balancing, cloud security for businesses, what strategies can they do to maintain both, high level intense security and also having a robust infrastructure, but the cost is not so, it doesn't kill me because I'm struggling to stay afloat, and then I'm investing in so much security, so much money in cloud security. So how do we not compromise on both
so
ideas?
There's something they say about, there are three things you can only get to at a time. There's cost, speed, and quality. You can only really get two of them. If you're going to get something that's good and speed, you're going to spend a lot of money on it. If you don't want to spend, if you're going to optimize cost, then you're going to compromise on either quality or speed. The thing is, you cannot lock down everything. After all, the point of an organization is to achieve its goals, not to secure everything. But you have to, first of all, conduct cost assessments. You identify your cost centers and your vulnerability. Then you can now start researching what options you can take. For example, it's very, very cheap to have, it's basically costless to have a role-based access control system for your platform. It really does not, it is not a large cost center, but there are places I have worked at where there was no clear role-based access control. Everybody who had access to the platform had access to everything, which made no sense. I was an intern at the time, and I had the ability to commit transactions to the database directly, which made no sense. My role was an intern. I should have been in a sandbox. Everything I would want to admit should have been reviewed by at least 2 people who are part of the organization, you know? And I didn't know it was wrong at the time, like I said, intern. It was when I left, you know, looking back, you get to realize that, oh, some things are off. Now, other things, like you might be tempted to think, oh, you want to implement the latest and greatest in security tooling, but a lot of the time it's not really that necessary, which goes back to having a cost assessment. You're running business that has yearly revenue of 27 million naira. You do not want to be investing 10 million of that money on your security posture.
Yeah.
Where's your profit? You know? Which is where you have to do clear cost assessments. What works, what doesn't. And collaboration also helps to realize what's going on in the wider world to find what will work for you.
What's the question again?
Hello?
Yeah, I heard you. I can hear you.
I heard someone speaking.
Yeah. Mr. Kennedy, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat box so we can, direct it to the, and please, you can tell us which of the panelists you'd like to direct your question to. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a question to ask. When he was talking about the security awareness, I think basically all this is about cybersecurity, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask, how do you feel in the terms using artificial intelligence in the, because I work in the SOC as an SOC analyst, just going through my training. How do you feel bringing this artificial intelligence in the SOC environment, whereby you have sensitive data that are not authorized to be shared with third party? For example, using artificial intelligence like ChatGPT, do you think it's a good idea to include this in cybersecurity? Because not all information that are shared on ChatGPT remain confidential, because in cybersecurity we have to follow up with the CIA tried to ensure confidentiality and the integrity of data. So do you do you let's say, do you give an advice that it is to be implemented into the security environment or could be excluded? Or those, let's say, workers, those that work in the security environment, do they need special training for this to ensure that data are being encrypted when being uploaded for analysis in the artificial intelligence environment such as ChatGPT? So what do you take on that? What is your advice on your guidance towards using AI in the cybersecurity environment?
Okay, so
All right.
this is actually quite important. Since you're an SOC analyst, you know that compliance with regulations is, in Nigeria, we have the NDPR, the National Data Protection Regulation, which is kind of modeled on the GDPR in the EU, the General Data Protection Regulation. And among those, setting aside the regulatory stance, on a security basis, you should not be using third-party tools. Like, you should not be sharing your data with third-party tools that have not been vetted. When you wish to, not even if you wish to, when you wish to implement AI or machine learning tooling in your security pipelines, they basically have to be self-hosted. Implementing something like ChatGPT or Claude or Google Gemini, where you're uploading your data to a third party, seems like an error in action. Simply by, for one thing, data is meant to be well corralled. You're not supposed to be uploading your data willy-nilly everywhere you want to go. So if you're self-hosting data or you're hosting data on the cloud, you have your own tooling. If you want to self-host an LLM that you wish to use as part of your security tooling, or to analyze your logs, or to part of your monitoring pipeline, avoid directly using ChatGPT, because not only does it break your security, your third-party security, it also leaves you vulnerable to regulatory breaks. If you break the law, you're kind of on your own in that regard. So using ChatGPT, AI tooling and the like, my own personal recommendation, you handle with care.
Okay, handle with care. Mr. Kennedy, did you get that? You handle with care. But I also want Jemima and Mr. Ebenezer to share their thoughts on that. What do you think are the implications of integrating AIs into the security environment that we've been speaking about? And that was an important question too. I need Mr. Ebenezer and Jemima. I think Mr. Ebenezer should go first.
Okay.
Then.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gaba said covered everything. I just want to buttress on the part of regulation, because it is why there are ethics, but more importantly, there are regulations. And in law, you can't say, "Oh, I didn't know." That does not apply at all, right? So you have to look at where your business is operating, or where your clients are covered. So if you are in Nigeria, there are regulations guiding that, right? And if some of your clients are in the EU, you can't say, "Oh, I'm in Nigeria, right? And so I'm okay with the regulations, I'm covered." No, where your clients reside, if that means if you're building a worldwide company with clients across, you have to know what those regulations are in those aspects. And like Mr. Garber said, AI and all those things kind of opened you up. So it's something you have to do carefully. And I would rather, if you do anything, if you want to, when you want to innovate, innovation is good, but make sure that at every point in time, you're innovating on the part of the law. You're not being exposed unnecessarily. That's where I'll just chip in on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
No, I think I would still stand on the part of the law. So there's something called data privacy. Whenever you have access to certain information in your organization, I don't know, it's always simply stated that third parties are not supposed to get access to this. If we stand on that written law of third parties not getting access to it, this is inclusive of AI. No matter how much you want to be improved and you want to develop, that's my personal opinion. But just always ensure that your data that you are sharing does not violate any privacy law at all. If it's GDPR or HIPAA or any privacy law really, because the AI systems, yeah, they're designed to safeguard personal and sensitive information, but it is still a third party. So it's better to be safe than sorry. That's what I would always say. Because I don't know, it requires careful consideration of privacy, security, and compliance with regulations. And I really like that you mentioned that's Mr. Kennedy, I don't know. When he was asking the question, he mentioned the security triad. That's the CIAA, confidentiality, integrity, availability, accessibility sometimes too. So that's actually really, really important. Confidentiality, top on the list. You're not supposed to share data with anybody else. So just try as much as possible not to upload your sensitive information to ChatGPT, your company sensitive information to ChatGPT. Thank you.
Um, Thank you so much for the contribution. I want to officially introduce myself. My name is Aiko Kennedy Ramseli. I'm from Nigeria, based in Germany. I just completed my cybersecurity program with Varoswe IT School. And Mr. Mustafa Gaba has been a friend that I followed, I think on LinkedIn. So I just checked on him. He went to Brussels University like me. I studied chemistry. So I'm just trying to contribute my expertise in this let's say webinar we are having. I will just place it as a conference. And it's so full of joy when you see your fellow Nigerians going into the field that is the next in the next world that is in high demand in the world today. When you talk about the chat GTP, I just want to contribute a little. I learned from Coursera yesterday how to use Copilot. It's a free course. Everyone can go and get to understand how it is implemented by Microsoft. So Copilot, they said that you can use Copilot in analysis as a cybersecurity professional. You will already understand the terms data privacy and how data should be kept confidential by following up with the CI tried. So like Mrs. Jeremiah, what's the name? Jeremiah that said, following up with data protection, which is part of the ISO 27 key policies that needs to be followed, and the rules of data GDPR, because GDPR is a very strong policy that has been followed in Europe. If we watch in the past, Mark Zuckerberg was fined by the European bodies for not following up with the GDPR policy. If you stay in Nigeria, you can work in Europe. It is in high demand now because the shortage of cybersecurity professional. So let's go back to the ChatGTP. ChatGTP itself is not secure because even a script kiddie can use ChatGTP to create a payload to create an attack against an organization. And ChatGTP doesn't protect your data because someone can just ask what is the name of this company, who is the highest CEO, by conducting a reconnaissance phase using ChatGTP. But with Copilot, when we implement this and the new software that are being implemented in the SOA, when you go to Palo Alto, they have this X SOA, which is the extended version of the SOA. These are softwares that are being implemented to ensure the security operations center operates without too much of stress on them, because we have thousands and millions of logs that we have to analyze. That comes, some are false positive, some are true positive, that still need to be considered to analyze. So I want to share this. If anyone is interested on Coursera, you can just learn about the co-pilot in SOC. It's a very good course that can also give each and every one of us the improvement to implement ChatGTP. Some sensitive data that are not made to be available on Copilot is one, your organization IP address when conducting investigation, and two, sensitive data of users like bank information, your firewall settings. All these are not made to be there. We know what we just need in artificial intelligence is to understand the type of attack that is targeting our organization. So the sensitive data, we have to just take them away and ensure we just look at what the result, look at the result that not ChatGPT is not secure. We can use Gemini and the Copilot. They will analyze it and let us know what kind of attack is targeting us. So this is the little one I want to contribute, and I appreciate every one of you, mainly Mr. Ebenezer. He shared some vital points that I learned, because we learn every day. There is no professionalism in this. Just we learn every day. We might be the body to be the one to stop the zero-day attack when it happens. The more we learn, the better we get to understand that knowledge is power. So thank you guys so much for giving me the opportunity to
Thank
speak.
you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy. For those who don't know, Mr. Kennedy is a very good friend of Mr. Mustafa Garba. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Also, we would like you to share the link to the Coursera course you spoke about in the chat box or in the comment section. Please, we'll be glad to have that link to maybe for those who are interested, so we can. But thank you so much for contributing and giving us your expertise and asking a very important question, which I believe needed to be asked. Thank you so much, sir. All right, back to
Did you get knocked out again? Or is it my own network?
It's
Okay.
frozen.
No, I think it's frozen again.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry, I'm switching between two because of this network issue. All right, so I'm saying that, where did you guys lose me? My apologies.
About 20
We're
seconds
about to
ago.
ask a question.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. So I was saying that we should go back to, discussing what we have. We have limited time, therefore, I'd like our comments, our remarks as well to be brief, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, so that we can run through. I have a couple of questions left to ask each and every one of us on the panelists board. So I need Mr. Ebenezer. So as a DevOps engineer, how do you ensure that the apps that we create are safe for users? How do we ensure that these apps are safe for users?
Okay.
What
Okay.
are the
Thank you very
strategies
much.
you
Okay.
employed?
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. And a lot has been said about the fact that in terms of security, the bulk of the vulnerability point lies with the human factor, the person between the chair and the screen, right? But we're not going to say that, oh, that is their problem, right? And so your question, answers what we have to do to still help the user out, because you cannot control the level of access or knowledge the user has, right? So how can you, we're talking about what we can put in place to make it difficult for the users to be so vulnerable, and that's I think is what it is, right? And so we need to put more effort as app developers, as professionals, putting more effort to make the app more safe, to make it safer. We can embed security checks throughout the development process. There are practices that we can use, like automated security testing, code scanning, vulnerability assessment, and there are tools that we can incorporate. For example, there is this tool called OSWAP Zap. It's good for penetration testing. I talked about Aqua Security earlier. That's for container security. There is CLAIR, CLAIR, right? good for vulnerability testing. And so the number of tools, right? The idea is not to say this is one tool that is good or that, and there's nothing like one size fits all, or one tool that takes care of everything. Like it was mentioned earlier, you have to study your situation. This is our app, this is our client, and so you have to rate the threats. There are a number of threats, right? But based on where you play, the industry you play, the purpose your application is serving, there are threats that are much more focused on you than others. So you have to prioritize them and prepare for those likely threats. So these are the things we can do as professionals, right? And beyond just testing, we can implement monitoring tools that detect unusual behaviors. For example, just making sure that security is part of our development processes. We take care of all of this, and it will minimize our users' exposure and our app's exposure to vulnerability. That's what we can say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. But as a follow-up question, or I think we should have parents here in the comments or as participating in the entire meeting. So how can parents protect their children from online scams and threat as well? And also, I hope Jemima will be able to impute something here. How can parents protect their children? Because they are not aware of some of these social engineering things going on, and children are now exposed to the internet. So how can parents protect their children from online scams and threat?
Okay, very good question, right? One thing I like to say is one word: responsibility. The moment you become a parent in this day and age, there are a number of things we can no longer take for granted. And so a parent who is ignorant cannot protect their kids, right? And so if not for anything else, for the sake of your kid, you have to upskill in terms of knowledge, right? Because if you know, you're able to use that to protect your kids or teach them better. If you say teach them, they are kids, but you cannot give them what you don't have, right? And so parents generally, first of all, need to upskill about all of these things we're talking about. Phishing attacks, all of these things, parents need to know. And that's the first step, right? Then if they need help, they need to sign up. There are free courses on Coursera, and just know first, because you can't protect the kids without knowing. Then number two will be to now educate them on recognizing phishing or scam attempts, and importantly, it's subtle, but inappropriate content as well. Because what you find out is that most of these attacks tag on inappropriate content. If you go to the dark web, that's where you see most of these ads or most of this attack. It happens from that side, So you want to guide them against inappropriate content as well. So that's for the parent. But for professionals, all of us, right? We need to do more, to help them. We cannot say, oh, it's the duty of the parents, duty of the guardians, right? We need to do more. For example, we can empower the parents with adequate parental control settings with our apps, right? Most devices have that, which is good, but for your specific application, you can also do that, right? We can incorporate adequate parental control settings that will help. If the parents feel safe that their kids, they feel safe with their kids using their app, then our app will go further, because this is a kid-friendly app. So it's not just because you want to go the extra mile, it also helps the bottom line of the company as well. So those are the two things. The parents have a responsibility, and we as professionals, we have also responsibility. And there are apps that parents can use. There is an app called custodial, there is BARK. So, like I said, we can't be mentioning apps to say, oh, once you get this app, that's the solution to all of our problems. It doesn't work like that. It comes with we being the person, the awareness, having the knowledge, and then doing the right thing at the right time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Before Jemima comes in and answers that same question, Miriam Shaibu, you have your hands up. I feel like you have a question. If you have a question, you can quickly just unmute and just say the question. Or if you're not comfortable.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. Am I audible, please?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, depending from where anybody is listening from. So my name is Miriam Shaibu Aliu, cybersecurity facilitator and an educator. So I saw this post and I was like,
no, go ahead. I said good to have you.
Okay, thank you. So I saw this post on LinkedIn. I was like, let me join and see anything cybersecurity, like let us keep scaling and reskilling. So one of the big issue, like the big issue we're having on cybersecurity is that cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility, irrespective of whether you are the app producer, the parent, or the user. It's everybody's responsibility. And according to statistics, 90% of security breach is caused by human error. And who are these human? We are the ones using this app, and we are the ones causing this security breach. So I think it will be very good. Like it will be very good for let us be creating awareness to both parents and producers of this app. So before you hand over a app to somebody or anything you want to hand over to the person, like go deeply, tell the person, this is how you're going to protect yourself from hackers. And these are the don'ts, because kids are falling for social engineering. And social engineering is one of the threats that is rampant in the world. And we have parents don't know how they can protect their children, how to tell the kids what to do and what not to do. And I think it will be very good. Like this is a wonderful session, and I'm very glad that I joined the session. Because I heard Dr. Ebenezer was just saying things how to protect from phishing and social engineering. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for at least sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, can I make some contribution to what Mr. Ebenezer said? When we talk about ensuring the first thing, there is something we call parent-child relationship. Just in our operating system also, there is a parent-child relationship between devices also. So when we bring that into the lives of our children, parents, let's say, for example, a mother and a child, we have to implement something in application, just like what Mr. Ebenezer said. We have to implement what is called application whitelisting, ensuring that kids are entitled to have access into this kind of application and not. I have a daughter that is 10 years old. I still control a device and what she can still have access into, even when she is miles and kilometers away from me. She still need my approval before she can be able to get access into some of those things. When, for example, Google have this application called Parental Control. You can install it on your phone as a father. You can install it on your phone as a mother. When your child is trying to install a program that is outside our age, you just have to be the one to decide if I'm to approve it or I'm to decline it. So it's a two choice. These things needs to be implemented in our children's devices. And secondly, when we talk about vulnerability, how to ensure that our kids are not falling into, let's say, social engineering kind of attack, these are things we can just teach them. It's like we creating an awareness on them. As a cybersecurity professional, we can just be able to implement some of this awareness into them. These are the things that people do. Like when we were small, we always say, when someone tells you come and take sweet, they want to kidnap you. That is an awareness for kids not to take things from the strangers. We have to also implement this also and say, listen, when this person says to you, you have won some lottery because of urgency, because they look for a means at which you are getting, let's say, for example, the most common site visited by individual. When you see someone send you a link and say, oh, apply for this, they are sharing 1,000 to individuals, the first 10 people. That is a social engineering techniques because they look at your urgency and trying to manipulate you into clicking on it. That is social engineering. When we implement all this into our children and ensure that we tell them, oh, when you see in your settings, something shows up that one notification, it means that you have to go into your device. You have to ensure patches. When the patches are made available, you have to ensure you install it. Like in iPhone, we have, they tell you that a new iPhone upgrade already comes up. You have to ensure to download it. Because if you don't download it, you might be exposed to zero-day vulnerability because the patches has been made available, you did not implement it. We just have to ensure that we teach our children how to operate their devices and be the one in control of our children's devices. Like there are some application, a child of, let's say, 4 years to 10 years should not have access to. You have to ensure mobile device management, full disk encryption. You encrypt the child
Yeah.
phone so that the child doesn't have access into that application. Let me
Okay,
say,
Mr.
we need,
Kennedy, I'll have to cut in here. Thank you so much, sir, for the contribution. Right? Thank you so much. I really appreciate that you have, so much to say on this, but we are running out of time and we need to move on to some other questions. But I know that somebody has learned something. For example, you mentioned that you're far away from your child, but then you still have control over some of the kind of sites your child can go into. And this is really important for parenting. And the foundation of what you said is the child-parent relationship. It's very important. And for anyone wondering how that should be, you can go ahead, go online and read upon it. There are videos and tutorials online that we can watch that can give us more insight on the particular conversation there. So thank you so much, Mr. Kennedy. And please, Mr. Garba, Mr. Ebenezer, and Jemima, whatever questions that will be thrown at you again would require just quite a concise answer so that we'll be able to wrap up and beat the time because we don't have much time. For anyone who also has questions, contribution, you can put them in the chat box, and if necessary, we can give you a chance to also speak, like how Mrs. Miriam and Mr. Kennedy has said. All right, so back to
I will
what
be
I
leaving
was saying.
soon. Sorry, please. I will be leaving soon. I have some things to do with my family, but I will share the sites to anyone interested to explore more and go deeper in cybersecurity. So
all right.
have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do have a lovely time with your family this weekend.
Yeah, you too, guys. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Great
Bye-bye.
to have you join us. We appreciate that. Thank you. And Mr. Grabra, you're not going to tell your friend to have a lovely time with. Okay, so Jemima, the question that brought the comments from both Miriam and Mr. Kennedy was that.
Okay, I think it's frozen again.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, welcome back.
Oh, okay. So, Jemima, I don't know if you can hear me clearly. So, I need you to just do a follow-up on that question that I asked Mr. Ebenezer concerning how to protect. But then I want to focus the question. I want to re-ask the question in a different way. So, for example, what do you think are some of the common mistakes we make when we are using maybe our online banking, or maybe online banking basically? What do you think are some of the common mistakes that we make?
Okay. So I think the most common mistakes that we all make is using weak or repeated passwords. So many people use in an attempt to constantly remember their passwords. Okay, since you restricted this to online banking, in an attempt to constantly remember their password, they use things like, okay, I wasn't born, but I was in an example. I'm giving an example now. Let's say I was born in the 1950s. So automatically, you know what? My password for my bank should be 1950. Or, oh, my first child was born in 2001. So the password for my Access Bank should be 2001. Or on the 19th of September, I graduated from secondary school. So my password is 1904. And honestly, all these things we see we do it as an attempt to, okay, remember our passwords and all. But these are the simple things that give us off. Because if an attacker would want to try to gain access to your bank accounts, these are the things he would definitely first do a reconnaissance to get all your personal information. And then would try these things. Simple things like, oh, what day were you born? What's your wife's birthday, your dog's birthday, your first child's birthday? Just significant events that have happened in your lives, and we'll just use them as your password. Another thing that people don't do is ignoring the whole two-factor authentication. That's multi-factor authentication. I think Mr. Garba mentioned something a little on that actually when he was speaking earlier. And using two-factor authentication is, I think this would be my last point, since we're keeping it very concise, is using simply something you have and something you know. That's the whole essence behind two-factor authentication. So let me try to break that down more. Um, for an extra layer of security, most applications now have introduced the use of multi-factor authentication. So most time they'll tell you that, okay, you use a password that you've come up with. That's something you know. And then they would give you other passwords or maybe redirect you to your phone. That's something you have. That's using two factors so that you access into the account. Yes, it's very important. I think everybody should, because WhatsApp has it, Instagram has it. So please just go ahead and enable your two-factor authentication. Because once you have it, it won't be too easy for attackers to gain access to your devices. Yes, I think I would stop here.
Okay, thank you. I mean, each person should have maybe 60 seconds to, but we have some some comments in the comment section. This is from Stephanie Ayuba. She said, "Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie, a QA engineer, friends to Jemima. Okay, this is a friend coming to support in. Thank you so much.
Yes,
A
definitely.
contribution to the yeah, a contribution to the AI from business experience. So she said, if you want to introduce AI into your system, it's better to hire AI experts to build a system for you than to rely on third-party platforms. Absolutely, I agree with that. I couldn't even agree less or more with that comment. Is that true, Mr. Garba, that it's better to have, an AI expert to build a system for you than to rely on third-party platforms? That's
I
so
would,
true.
it's a partial. It's really an unnecessary cost to build a bespoke, like a custom system for your needs, where instead you can just take an off-the-shelf solution and use it. That's why I say it's a partial agreement where your needs are a lot more complicated and your platform is large enough that you have dedicated attackers rather than just drive-by attackers. Yes, bringing in a data AI expert to build a bespoke system for you will probably work, but it's a case-by-case thing.
Okay. Okay, a case by case thing. So you don't totally agree, basically. It's not like it's completely bad, but it's still a 50-50 kind of chance, basically. Okay, so 60 seconds each for the questions I'm going to be asking, and we have to rush now because of our time, and we are running out of time real fast. I've enjoyed the webinar so far because of how we have external contributors into the webinar. That's really great. This is why we're here today. So for example, now, how can you tell me, a layman, Jemima, how can you tell me, a layman, in 60 seconds to protect my devices from malware and viruses? How do I do that, really? Because is it just about downloading an antivirus, or just what exactly are some of the practices I need to know, or some practical tips I need to have to protect my devices from malware and viruses in 60 seconds? I don't know if did anyone hear me? I hope that was not my network this time.
I think I mostly heard you, but you didn't mention who it was directed to.
Jemima, it's Jemima, actually. Is she here? Jemima, are you here? Are you still with us?
You're muted, Dami.
Dami, you're muted. Can't hear you.
You're muted.
Sorry, my apologies. I mistakenly tapped on it and I didn't know. All right, so I said when Jemima comes back, hopefully I'll be able to ask her that question. So, Mr. Ebenezer, what are some of the examples of how, back to DevOps, of how DevOps has been used to promote ethical practices? I need you to answer that question in 60 seconds. And somebody asked a question first, but then I couldn't ask that question. The person said that, and this is quite related to the question I just asked you. The person, and this was Ben, rather, really. The person said that, will just regular scans suffice for DevSecOps, or are there some other practices we have to, bring into these DevSecOps, or is DevSecOps just really about regular scanning of security? Basically, that's what that question was about. I couldn't find it again.
Okay. I think I saw something like that, right? So I'll try to do justice with this in 60 seconds. And DevOps and DevSecOps, right? It's a way of doing things. It's like a mind shift, all right? It's like a culture. So it starts with us, the people, the individual, with the organization, the way the organization has said this is how, and it goes into the policy, right? So that you can ingrain or instill that behavioral pattern on how things are done, on how codes are developed, on how testing is done, and what passes and what fails. All right. So that's the top thing first. Now, tools are just those things that helps us, right? once we have decided that this is the way we want to go. So tools are not the answer 100%. And there is, like I said earlier, that there is no one tool to say, once you have this, your problem is solved. No, it's not like that, all right? And so your question is, how can we use development, how being used to promote ethical practices? Did I get that correctly, right?
Yes.
So, so I want to use the term privacy by design, meaning that when we're designing the applications, the approach is that we only collect the data that we need, not just collect all data about the user, all right? Collect the data that we need, and also part of collection, not just collecting, we have to design in such a way that we ensure that the user data that is being collected are stored. The manner is being collected, number one, right? Where it's being stored and how it's being used, they are all done with consent. I know most people don't read the user agreement, privacy documentation. We don't do that, but we need to be there because when it comes to regulation, these are the things that we need to present, all right? So I think I would just say that we have to be deliberate about it, the entire process. Yeah, I would just stop there right now.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. We have to be deliberate about making sure we have ethical, practical use of DevOps. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Garba, very quickly, back to data privacy, as well as Mr. Ebenezer said. He said, I mean, the question is ensuring data privacy and security when dealing with large-scale cloud data operations can be complex, which is true. So how do you manage this, especially when collaborating with third-party vendors or external partners? How do you manage the data security and privacy with a large-scale cloud data?
So this is a two-layered answer because first of all, enforcing regulations exists within the ambit, like within the ambit of the data controller, like the data processor. So when you have a system where 14 different vendors are contributing components or microservices to a working system, you tend to have issues when you don't have a point of like a data controller, like a point man that control a point person or point group that control the flow of data and the status of data at rest, where it flows to, where it doesn't flow to. Because if, for example, a vendor wants to take in data to be processed on their own black box and then returned to the home database or data lake, data warehouse, wherever you're storing the data, it becomes a problem. You have to enforce in like when Mr. Benito was mentioning privacy by design, it has to be enforced at the design stage where when you're bringing in additional components, all those components have to follow along with the data policy you already have in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I get that. I think I understand that now. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have just 7 minutes left, and it means I'm going to apportion 5 minutes to make sure I ask these simple questions for the both of you, Mr. Garba and Mr. Ebenezer. So for Mr. Ebenezer, for those aspiring to start a career in DevOps and cybersecurity, what are the steps at
Okay, is the question complete? Since it's frozen. Okay. Just giving me a minute or so.
Okay.
Okay, this is longer than expected, but
Much longer than expected.
Again, for the umpteenth time, I just want to say so sorry because my network keeps acting up unnecessarily.
it's all
But can
right.
we hear me? Can we hear me?
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
have 5
Okay.
minutes left.
I had your
I
question,
don't know if you
right?
had a
So
question I
I
gave.
think I did. I think I did.
Okay.
And so
Sir.
So the way I'm going to approach it is the same way I've been approaching the questions before now. I've been talking about from the angle of the users and then from the angle of the professionals. Those who are responsible for app development and security and other things, right? So I'll address the professionals first. So if you're a professional, you're still learning in these things, I would say start by learning the basis of cloud computing. Cloud computing, operating systems, programming generally, right? You start with that. Then from there, move on to the foundational aspects of DevOps and cybersecurity. Jemima talked about the passwords. You can talk about what you know, right? What you have. And the third aspect is what you are. You talk about biometric, right? So just know the basics of DevOps and cybersecurity. From there, try to familiarize yourself with key DevOps tools, tools like Git, Docker, Jenkins, security principles around authentication, encryption, network security generally. I know I'm making a big list, but it's going to be helpful. Then after all of this knowledge, try to gain some experiences. I know might say, how do I gain experience, right? You can intern, you can volunteer. There are open source projects you could participate in, or you could sit home and try to build your own CI/CD pipelines. Say for a React project, right? Try to use GitHub Actions if you don't want to use Jenkins, right? Try to build a complete CI/CD pipeline. Try to incorporate different testing tools, Trivy, Aqua Security, so many other things. You can start that. That will help you to gain hands-on skills. For beginners, for non-professionals right now, I have two things to say. I don't have the time to drill down into it. Number one is embrace the culture of learning continuously, right?
Okay.
Things change, even for professionals, right? Things change, right? So you need to keep up. It's a responsibility on your part, and to really try to keep up. Learn. The fact that you came for a cybersecurity lesson or seminar like this and you learned one or two things, within the quarter, go for another one because these things are moving rapidly. All right. Number two is try to develop problem-solving skills. Because these things do come. Sometimes you want to think through. Somebody says, "Oh, you've been selected by APC to collect 50,000." Just think it through. Don't just focus on the reward and the instruction, thinking through. If it is true, what will be the process for the government to release money? Won't that be you? So these are the things that will help you verify. Just think things through. Like Jemima mentioned, why would the head of Google reach out to you directly, right? Just basic problem-solving skills, right? Think through the entire process. It helps you to clarify. And finally, It doesn't stop. You can do certifications too. I mean, go for courses, seminars, just know things, right? And this applies to professionals as well. Learn continuously, develop problem-solving skills, right? And then latch on certifications, cybersecurity, ethical hackers, AWS, DevOps, certified professional. They're all there. So I will rest here. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ebenezer. We've really run out of time now, guys. Continuous learning is very important. Thank you so much, Ben, for highlighting that point. Unfortunately, we don't have time to drill down into so many other technicalities, but thank you so much, guys, for joining in. I don't think we have time for closing remarks, but if this goes off soon, it was a wonderful time having Mr. Mustafa Garba and especially Jemima rather, because she has corrected me several times. I mean, one time. So would be the final thoughts you have to share to everyone who joined this webinar. For example, somebody who has joined in, and can you make sense out of everything that we've shared today? Mr. Garba, 30 seconds each. Jemima again, are you here with us now?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. All right. You had a question, but then it's like you were offline.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Closing remarks, please. No, no problem. It's fine. I mean, I'm a victim. I've been victimized. So, closing remarks from the three of you in a few seconds.
Okay.
Jemima, please go.
Okay, so I would like to end with these few words that in as much as we've tried as much as possible to tell you to be safe and try and be safe, if you don't choose safety, safety cannot choose you. So please, just try. I know it's not easy. It happens to the best of us. We might probably be here telling you, don't click on links, stay safe, don't repeat passwords. I mean, I know I'm not repeating passwords and I'm not clicking links, but the next minute somebody might be calling me and urgently asking me for something. So yes, just try as much as possible to choose safety. And always, before you make a decision, try to calm down and think things through. You don't need to make a decision immediately. 3 seconds would not be the end of the world. So yes, that's all I have to say.
Okay, don't make a decision rashly. We should ensure that we use wisdom before we take any form of action, if I got that correctly. Hello?
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, correct. Okay, Mr. Garba, you're still going to tell us, exactly the steps to take if I'm going to be a cloud engineer in 30 seconds, a cloud security expert. Where do I start from in 30 seconds? And also your closing remarks.
All right. If you want to get started on the cloud, the best way to start, even though it's a bit more expensive, is the cloud native, the CNCF. The CNCF, okay. They are connected to the Linux Foundation. They have a number of courses and certifications that will put you in good stead in the cloud native world. Now, if you don't have money, YouTube is always there. Places like DigitalOcean, Google offers $300 in free credits for a year for you to learn how their own cloud platform works. Microsoft Azure, if you're a student, they offer similar things. That's actually where I started when I was a student. I don't know if AWS has the always free services where you can actually learn how AWS cloud works as well. And by the time you walked across those three, you will kind of have had an idea of how of what works in common, and then you can try and build your own home lab. Like if you have a powerful enough laptop, you can literally start hosting, like you host Kubernetes on your laptop, start spinning up containers on your laptop, see how it works. But that's a bit more to
Not
start with.
technical.
Yes, to start with the CNCF, the Linux Foundation, then the three big cloud providers, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform.
Okay.
YouTube is an amazing place to learn, but not everybody is good with video.
Someone asked in the chat, someone said, what of Code Cloud?
Cloud. Code Cloud, what do you call it? I'm actually running through their GitOps course right now. So I don't want to say anything too much besides I like the way they have sandboxes, Code Cloud, Casting Academy, that's KST. Let me type those out. Code
Thank you.
Cloud.
That would be very much appreciated if you type them out.
And the JFrog. JFrog also has an online learning platform where they bias it based on their own products, but you can extend it out to the cloud native ecosystem in its entirety.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Is that all you have to say for us, sir?
At the end of the day, the thing you have to you have to commit to is always be learning. You have to always be learning. You have to always be ready to scale up. You have to always be ready to learn what you don't know and add it to what you already know. That's when you create new forms of knowledge for yourself, when you're constantly adding more, and utilizing what you know. Very important.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Thank you so much, sir.
You know how to write Android apps, but you've not done it since 2017. That knowledge has gone. Oh,
Thank you
someone
so
said,
much, sir.
DevOps, hope I can get going with JavaScript as I do not write Python. You can't really say you're doing DevOps in JavaScript because if the scripting languages that are common, Perl, Python, Golang, but you can try and see, after all, JavaScript is a Turing complete language. You can always try and force the issue.
I hope that answers Kingsley Udoma. Mr. Ebenezer, this is somebody that's, you can help out here as a back-end engineer.
I mean, Mr. Gaba has said it. Mr. Gaba already said it, right? Well, my own take for beginners is we already highlighted continuous learning and all of that, right? Developing programs of skill and stuff, right? But by the time you move into a cloud platform, there is GCP, that's Google, Azure, Microsoft, AWS, right? There's even Alibaba Cloud. I will suggest for beginners, when you dive into cloud platform, pick one and be thorough with one. Because even though they are the same, sometimes switching here and there might lead to a form of confusion, right? So if you want to pick AWS, I would suggest that you stick with that and see it through before you try to say, okay, let me also incorporate Azure or GCP. If it's GCP, pick one cloud platform and be able to know it. Use it for different things before you want to jump on another one. That would be my final advice. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mariam Shuaibu Aliyu again made a comment that says, anything too good to be true is phishing. I like that as a closing remark. Can I borrow that?
Agreed, yeah.
Can I just borrow that? That anything too good to be true is fishy. Nobody would dash me $500,000 by just sharing 5 links to 5 people. It's completely impossible. And I'm a thief for wanting that kind of action. I mean, it shows the internal character within me for me to believe it enough to even share the links to people. And I believe Jemima would agree with that, that I'm also a thief on the other hand. And so today was I mean, even though the network tried to, blow some wind to our sail, but we thank God that we are able to get to this point. I would like to thank everyone. If you have any other question, finally, before we wrap up, because everybody has things to do. If you have any questions to anybody, anyone on the panelists, on the panel, please do well to put it in the chat box, and hopefully they'll like to answer that. Okay, so we don't have any question currently, so we'll just move on. But I learned a lot from
Sorry,
two
there's a
different
question though.
perspectives. Oh, where?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm really sorry to
No
interrupt
problem.
you. I usually wouldn't do that. Benjamin, quality assurance engineer. I've been trying to transition into DevOps for a while now. And the last question that I dropped here is not the best developer as it is. I do test automation using Cypress, JavaScript, also some knowledge around Selenium using Java. But now delving into DevOps is somewhat going to be like scripting, majorly scripting. So I've been asking myself time without numbers, how easy will it be to like script? I mean, scripting is quite different from like, I mean, you writing a code or if an else statement to do some things, I believe. So, I mean, speaking to the expert, this is the opportunity for me to ask that question. What would you say? How easy do you think it will be learning to script?
Okay. Can I plug in? I don't think
Yes,
scripting,
please.
yes, you're thinking about it from the wrong perspective. It's not all
Okay.
about scripting. It's all about building systems. So what you want to do is to be thinking about what you want to achieve and the steps you need to achieve it. You break it down to the smallest possible action. Don't think about it in terms of languages and tools and scripting and whatnot. Think about it in terms of problems and solutions. And you'll find that after all, if you can write code, what is script if not code directed to a specific purpose? Mr. Ebenezer, do you want to plug in?
Good.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, sir. So don't look at and this approach is not just for DevOps or programming, is the right approach to life. Don't look at how difficult the journey is going to be. Oh, it's a 10-hour journey. Will I be able to, what am I going to eat or drink at the middle of the road? No. Just look at it a step at a time, right? The purpose why you're going on that journey. And if you have that purpose and you're working on that purpose, within a short time, you get to it. So it's not about, oh, I want to learn how to program. I need to spend 10 years learning this because you can be from the beginning. What you need is a mind shift into that. Like Mr. Garba said, problem solving. When you identify a problem, you solve that. That may be one problem, but you're already providing the solution. All right. That is the approach to anything in life, DevOps inclusive. So you're good to go. Once you have the mind, we highlighted a number of things where you could start. Start immediately. Get a good laptop for simulation. It doesn't have to be super good. Get a laptop for simulation. Simulation is very, very good. You run into a lot of issues locally. You solve it. You'll be shocked that those are the same kind of issues that people run to in production environments. Now you know how to contribute to that. Just get started. Have a can-do mindset and get started. Don't say until I get a super laptop. No, don't say that. Or until I do this fancy course, start right now. Start with the YouTube courses, YouTube videos, and begin. Yeah, and you can get it done. All right.
All right. Okay. I hope that was helpful to you, Mr. Ben. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in today. Thank you. I want to particularly appreciate the panelists for bringing in their experience and their expertise to this really, really complex topics, but we were able to at least distill it into such a sensible manner that anybody can really walk off with it. I want to really appreciate Mr. Garuba, Mr. Ebenezer, and Jemima for especially taking our time and coming with your A game and giving us your insights. I really appreciate it. And for everybody who joined into the webinar today, thank you so much. This is E86 Limited. We hosted this webinar and we do this quarterly. And we would like to have you join us again. One next you see maybe a post that we are starting on that webinar. And I hope that someone somewhere, has learned something. And for everyone who contributed through comments, through calling in, and especially Mr. Kennedy for, even interrupting and giving his own thoughts, sharing his own ideas. Thank you so much for taking our time to be with us today. And my name is Damilare Akingbade, just in case you've forgotten. And this is where I sign out and close the curtains. And I hope and pray that we all have a lovely weekend and God bless us. Please do have a lovely weekend with your families and friends. And we hope to see you in our next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.